Hello and welcome back for another video on ARK Survival Ascended and to another new modded creature showcase, where I will be showcasing 5 brand new creature mods that have released in the past few weeks. One in particular I am extremely excited about checking out. All of these creature mods are free and can be played cross-platform, so without further ado, let's get straight into it. Kicking off the video with Bungartius, which was a surprising new addition to Paleo ARK's Evo Plus native aquatics, which comes from Up From the Depths and the Paleo ARK team. It is a medium-sized fish, a little larger than the Ichthyosaurus, and of course can be found spawning around the higher parts of the ocean, and probably does share spawns with the Ichthyi, I would say. They are skittish creatures but can become aggressive too, and are very quick swimmers, so you need a means to keep up with them. And I'm just using a Baryonyx in this instance, which is admittedly a little slow, but I love me a good Barry. Surprisingly, they are just a regular knockout tame and do appear to become aggressive once provoked. Much more difficult to knock out than most due to their skin having high natural armor protection, so good luck knocking one out with a primitive crossbow. I did also bait this one to a dead Megalodon to heal up, as I was scared it might die, but once they finally go sleepy time, they prefer simple kill for the best taming effectiveness, and once tamed does not require a saddle to ride, which is kinda nice. It is said to be a beginner exploration mount, having a decent weight stat and pretty good stamina, while also possessing a fast swimming speed. It also has a few attacks and tricks up its sleeve, able to perform either a primary bite attack, which deals the most damage, and also a secondary chin bump attack I'm going with. Kinda looks like it's moshing out to some heavy metal or something. Anyway, this secondary attack is what makes the Bungartius so good. It can harvest rocks with this attack, and is an adept harvester of metal, oil, and flint, just to name a few, while also having a 50% weight reduction for heavy resources like metal, oil, and stone. And something else unique about this is that it can be used on carcasses to harvest raw prime fish meat, which most aquatic creatures cannot do with their bite attacks. It also has this very cool looking tail spin attack. This seemingly can be used twice in quick succession, but then has a short cooldown, and also deals a little bit of knockback to targets. It's definitely no fighter by any means, but it deals a decent amount of damage for a fish its size, and to support its non-saddle requirement, it takes massively reduced damage to attacks, which definitely makes it much more viable for ocean exploration. The Paleo ARK native aquatics will always be a welcomed addition to any map, and the Bungartius will forever add a nice bit of extra aquatic life into ARK's oceans. Speaking of forever and ARK, let me introduce you to Forever ARK server clusters, the perfect community if you are looking for a place to call home, whether that be ARK Ascended or Evolved, featuring no white PvP offline raid protection servers, adding to that giving players a variety of boosted rates allowing you to explore more and grind less, offering a wide variety of maps to choose from whether you are playing Ascended or Evolved. So if you are in need of a home and these servers tickle your fancy, you can head on over to either their Discord server, link will be in the description of the video and in a pinned comment, or head on over to their website at arkforever.com for more info. A very nice website, I must say. Now let's get right back to the video. Well, up next is the new Dino mod I've been highly anticipating for a while now, and if you watched a lot of my videos you will know I have a lot of love for the Ankylosaurus, and here it is, Clay's Anklo edit from the Clay art. So yeah, this mod gives the Anklo a more appealing model, new animations and new mechanics, and look at the thing, what an absolute beauty. You'll find them spawning alongside their vanilla counterparts, so they do not replace their spawns. Clay's Anky is also tamed via typical knockout methods, just like the vanilla Anky. Once asleep, it also prefers regular kibble for the best taming effectiveness. Surprisingly, the saddle is unlocked at a slightly lower level than the Anky at level 25. I don't think that's really going to matter though, as they mostly spawn in dangerous areas, so I'd be pretty impressed if you could tame one at level 25. The greater Anky saddle is unlocked at a higher level of level 60, and I must admit the saddle looks absolutely beautiful, and does state in the mod description that Dark Edge TV made this one. So yeah, go check out her videos if you haven't already. She makes some great mod spotlights. I've actually noticed she does design quite a lot of the modded creature saddles in the game. When compared to the vanilla version, you can see they appear to be more armored and chunkier, a little wider and more muscular, and the vanilla Anky has pointy spikes as opposed to Clay's. In terms of attacks, Clay's version pretty much shares the same attacks, a primary tail swipe attack, dealing the most amount of damage, and a secondary bite attack having faster DPS, which is great for harvesting berries. But it does also have the addition of a cute little roar. Oh, so cute. Damn, I love Ankies, man. And of course, the tail swipe attack will harvest rocks for metal, crystal, obsidian, and oil, etc, etc, while sharing the same 85% weight reduction for metal. The mod, of course, adds its own greater variant, which is basically a slightly larger and stronger version with health on par with a Rex. There is some differences between the two, looks-wise even chunkier, and has some underbelly spikes going on from the looks of it, something the regular-sized Anky doesn't have. They are, of course, much more powerful. Firstly, its primary tail swipe attack will cripple and inflict a slow debuff to targets with every hit. I did, however, only notice this with wild ones. When unridden or in the wild, if its health drops below 33%, it will enter a stance known as the Bulwark stance. When active, inflicts a low level of torpor to the attacker and greatly reduces all incoming damage, while also reflecting a percentage back to the attacker. The more hits it receives, the more damage the attacker takes, and also seems to attack at a crazy rate too. Looks a little bit odd, but I'm all about it. Its tail attack can deal small amounts of torpor to targets and will bypass natural armor protection, the rock elemental being a perfect example of this, while also being able to protect itself with its natural reflective armor protection, dealing a small amount of damage back to any attackers that land a hit on it. It is a much better harvester than its smaller version, and also receives a few extra weight reduction perks, massively decreasing the weight of crystal and obsidian inside its inventory. My math isn't the best, but I'm going to assume by around 75%, but of course there is a small downside to the greater version of not being able to be carried by an Argentavis. The Argent can, however, carry the smaller Clay's Anklo. Both variants allow players to wield their weapons when mounted, and finally Clay's Anklos also receive their own herding mechanics, which is pretty much the same as the herding from Clay's Trike edit. If you guys have checked that one out, which is a great mod by the way, highly recommend it. Anyway, although very rare to see a large group of Ankies roaming around together in the wild, Vanilla and Clay's Ankies will group up together for protection and follow each other around. Clay's Anklo really is the best version of the Ankylosaurus in the game right now. If the vanilla one was to ever receive a TLC update, this mod is a perfect representation of what it could be. Our third dinosaur on the list is going to be the new Suchomimus, which comes from Tweezes. I say new, but there was an older version of this from a modder called Gigaraptor, I believe. No idea what happened there, but I'm pretty sure the old version was broken and stopped receiving support. And I guess we now have this newer version from Tweezes, where we can expect to see frequent updates, which is my guess anyway. So the Suchomimus is a large mid to late game theropod that you can find spawning around shallow waters, the lava beaches on the center, deep waters on Ragnarok, and around the fertile rivers and the bioluminescent waters on Aberration. Tamed via typical knockout methods and preferring either raw prime fish meat or superior kibble for the best taming effectiveness. And once tamed can be saddled up at level 70. And I'm going to say it shares similar stats to the Spino. A great traversal mount for almost any occasion, being a great sprinter on land and a pretty nimble swimmer. And being as it does not possess an oxygen stat makes it viable for a cheeky bit of ocean exploration. A very capable battle mount able to dish out a relatively high base damage with its primary bite attack. Along with that, having a secondary claw swipe attack. This one does have a cooldown of 3 seconds, but inflicts a debuff to targets where they receive 5% more damage from any source while the effect is active. And to close out its attacks, it also has a tertiary stomp attack, which deals slightly more damage than the primary bite, but has a cooldown of around 8 seconds. Its combat capability does not end there, as it can perform this menacing roar when pressing the crouch key. This is not just for cosmetic purposes, but can temporarily buff the damage of itself by 10%, and also nearby allies for a short duration of time, making it a formidable support mount too. This does also stack with the Uteranus Courage Roar, so can make them a viable support pick for boss arenas. What I will say is I do wish the buff lasted for twice the amount of time, but I guess we can't have it all. I am happy to say that the Suchomimus has finally returned to its former glory, and it has been a pleasure showcasing it here today. Have you ever wanted the lead Sickfees to be tameable and rideable? Well, me too. That is exactly what Clay's lead Sickfees edit is all about, which once again comes from Clay. The mod gives the lead Sickfees a brand new model, textures, and adds 2 variants to your world. The regular variant, which is a smaller version, and also the greater variant, which is a much larger and stronger version, similar to the greater Clay's Anklo from earlier in the video. They behave in the same way as the vanilla lead Sickfees, becoming aggressive towards any rafts that enter their territory. I don't believe they deal as much damage as the vanilla ones. I think this raft took around 12 to 15 hits before it was destroyed, and I'm pretty sure the vanilla ones destroy a raft in like 4 or 5 hits. And when in the wild, you can also still passively scrape meat from them too if you choose to do so. As expected, you can find these big boys replacing their vanilla counterparts and spawning usually around the mid-level and shores of ARK's oceans, just like the vanilla leads. Tamed via typical knockout methods, but you will most definitely need to bring a lot of narcotics along with you, as they wake up just as fast as a Giga, which can be a little bit of a pain in the bum when you're out here thriving thriving and surviving in the ocean. The standard lead prefers superior kibble, and the greater prefers extraordinary kibble for the best taming effectiveness. Once tamed, the standard leads can be saddled up at level 35, and the greater saddled up at level 75. Sharing a similar health pool to the Megalodon, they are however exponentially weaker than even the lone Megalodon, with their bite attack only scratching targets at best. So probably won't be your go-to pick as an aquatic battle mount, but they do have a relatively fast swimming speed, making them great for deep sea exploration. The greater lead Sickvies, on the other hand, is a whole different beast, having around 4 times the amount of health, weight, and damage, so it really is a powerhouse. Much larger and almost the same size as the Shastasaurus. Still has a relatively fast swimming speed, but has the stats to back it up, meaning it can face off against the biggest, baddest threats that the ocean has to offer. It does, however, have a terrible AoE attack range, so once a target swims slightly past its mouth, it really struggles to hit anything, bless him. And of course, adding to that, they have a turning radius of a bus, so combat can be a little troublesome at times. With all that being said, it's a great mod and gives the lead Sickvies what it deserves, which is a good bit of TLC and to have a purpose in life. And closing out our list today is the Hyverpod, which comes from Armand Gamer 777, who has also made some pretty decent mod maps in the past, by the way. But anyway, the Hyverpod is a bug around the same size as the Uranio, native to Scorched Earth, but can be found on numerous maps spawning with different variants, spawning in Scorched Earth's caves, and the Wyvern Trench, the Center's Lava Island, Aberration's Fertile Cave, Element Cave, and the Rock Drake Nesting Grounds, Ragnarok's and Valgera's Wyvern Trenches, and also in Valgera's Rock Drake Trench. And finally, on Extinction, the regular variant spawns in the Sulphur Fields, and the final unique variant, that is the Waste Hyverpod, will spawn in the Forbidden Zone. So to tame the regular Hyverpod, you can either head on over to your mortar and pestle and craft yourself some salted spoiled meat, or just use exceptional kibble. Spray yourself down with that fresh fragrance of bug repellent, tamed passively where you have to approach it from behind, and proceed to shove kibble or salted spoiled meat right up its bum from your final hotbar slot. Rinse and repeat until it is tamed. The Waste Hyverpod is tamed via a different method, still passively. However, you will need to kill corrupted creatures, drag the bodies to it, and passively feed it, similar to taming the otter. They can be picked up by flyers like the Argentavis, so you can take them to a safer spot, unless you want corrupted gigas spawning right on your doorstep. The Waste variant is surprisingly passive, which makes taming them a little easier. Once tamed, all variants use the same saddle, unlocked at level 50. It is a rather peculiar creature, not exactly known as a battle mount, nor a traversal mount. So where does it fit in, I hear you ask? Having a primary bite attack and a secondary stab attack, with the secondary attack inflicting a rage buff to targets, which causes other creatures to aggro. However, due to its smaller stature and abilities, make it a great caving mount, as once inside a cave it receives the passive Inner Cave, boosting their damage and damage resistance by 20%. Adding to that, it receives numerous buffs when killing bugs. The buff it receives all depends on what insect it kills. So for example, killing the Titana Murmur grants it a small health regeneration buff. Killing spiders will turn it into Turboman. Killing scorpions or Meganeras will boost its damage output by 30% for around 24 seconds. And if you're willing to go toe-to-toe with the big bad bugs, killing a mantis will give us the super damage boost, granted us 50% extra damage for a whopping 50 seconds, and so on and so forth. And being as you encounter so many different insects and bugs in caves, means your Hyverpod will be consistently beefed up with numerous different buffs throughout. You don't want to mess with this bug when it's some bug-on-bug action, I'll tell you that much for free. So it is evident that the Hyverpod would be a great caving mount, especially for Scorched Earth caves. Speaking of Scorched Earth, if you are a god and slay yourself the king of the desert, that is the Deathworm, you'll receive a godly buff known as Ultra Protection, which will give it 20% damage resistance, healing, and stamina regeneration for the duration of a whopping 20 minutes. And finally, the Hyverpod will passively produce substitutes for Biotoxin and Ammonite Bile inside its inventory over time, so it can be very useful to own for maps where those resources are a rarity. Moving on to the Waste variant's abilities, as it does have a few different perks over the regular Hyverpod. Firstly, when accessing its inventory, you'll have the option to craft Corrupt Hardened Poly and Concentrated Sulfur, which of course are both substitutes to the vanilla resources. For example, using 1 corrupted nodule and 2 raw meat will craft the Hardened Corrupt Polymer, which can be used in crafted recipes as a substitute for hard polymer that you can craft inside a fabricator. As the Waste variant is native to Extinction, it receives its own buff when killing corrupted creatures creatures, giving it a 50% damage resistance, double damage, and a movement speed boost for the duration of 2 minutes. It is stated to be an efficient harvester of corrupted creature carcasses and electrical creatures, but I play on 1x harvesting rates and it didn't seem all that great to me, to be honest, especially when you can just whip out a chainsaw and go to town harvesting 10 times the amount of what the Hiverpod would harvest, so maybe that needs a little bit of boosting. Its secondary attack is also different and will mark that creature, causing it to take 25% extra damage for the duration of 30 seconds. And finally, a feature which I thought was a lovely little touch, which you'll find when accessing your smithy. A new folder will be visible that is dedicated to the Hiverpod cosmetics, and here you can craft yourself a bunch of skins for your Hiverpod and also some cute little chibis. Well, that is if you can call a bug cute, but it is kind of cute, right? And that is going to be the end of the video for today. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, please don't forget to like, comment, share around, and subscribe for more, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Take care. Goodbye.